Hey everybody, it's Mark Pereira. I'm out here doing some work, just chilling out in my car for a minute. So I wanted to let everybody know about some stuff that we're going to be doing here soon on YouTube. It's some videos we're going to be making. We're going to be creating some little mini documentaries, which are going to be pretty fun to do. We did this like some live videos discussing the research on Facebook and some of the ideas on how we've developed that and what we've come up with and all that. And so we're gonna further that. We're gonna make it like I'm gonna try to really put a lot of artistic work into it and make it look really aesthetic and pleasing. But what we're gonna be talking about are the mythological schools of thought, right? And what we want to do, because we get in debates with people. We talk to a lot of people about different ideas and different methods and all that. And a lot of people make a lot of accusations against our work and what we're doing. I've had people say that we're trying to be gurus. People try to say we're trying to make money. People try to say that we're doing, trying to control the argument, trying to, become like some sort of a dogmatic institution or something like that. And that's never what we're doing. So, we're going to put our money where our mouth is, and I hope that other people will follow. And because what I want to do, my thing is, the Norna Society is an educational organization, and that's what we're devoted to. We're dedicated to educating people, to helping people learn about how these methods develop and how they work, right? And so people sit there and they make all these accusations about us. But what I want people to do when they're paying attention into that, and hail Mike and Fulford. Um, so what we want to do is we want to try to get people to pay attention to what people do rather than what they say. Okay, that's something that I kind of grew up with. That was kind of a standard that I was given as a kid, told to pay attention to what people do, because people say all sorts of things. They make all sorts of accusations, or they'll try to create all kinds of, narratives that they want to get you to follow them. So they'll use emotional responses. They'll use all kinds of ways to twist the truth and things like that. And so, we want to be as transparent as possible. We want everybody to know what our goals are, what our purpose is, and what guides us, and why we're doing this, right? And the reason why we're doing it is because we feel that our method is a very valid and very great method for reconstructing these beliefs and sort of getting us past some of the hurdles that we've seen in the past, right? And so what we're going to do here is we're going to be making these videos that are going to break down exactly all of the mythological schools of thought, every single one of them, so that when you see a piece of information, you will know where a person's coming from, right? And you will see the pros and the cons, the benefits and the flaws, right? Sort of the litmus test that each one has had, what they've developed, why they developed it, how it came about, and what its purpose is, and how it served heathenry or academic research and all that stuff. Okay, it's going to get you to question things. You're going to have to be open-minded about it and understand that we are not concerned with letters behind names. We're not concerned with cults of personality. A lot of people come up and they'll sit there and trash our work or trash what we're doing, but they don't bring anything academic to the table. If you want to trash our work, or if you want to argue against what we're doing, do so as an academic. Do so scholarly. Make the points and bring your evidence and try to counteract what we're doing. When people just slander us and say bad things about what we're doing, it doesn't help you as a researcher, as a writer. It makes you look bad, right? And I don't want people to look bad. I want people to come in and we want to debate this stuff and we want to talk about it and we want to present these ideas to the table, and we have to do so intelligently and as scholars and writers and researchers. And to people just say, well, it's just garbage, and it's like, that's not an argument. That's not anything, right? So what we want to do is we want to give you the tools to understand where these ideas come from where people came up with this stuff. Where's the origin of it? Why are they thinking these things? Why does it develop? Do they get the last word? A person goes to a university, they go into thousands and thousands of dollars of debt. They get themselves a little fancy little title, and that's it. They get to say what your religion is, what your belief is. So that's what we're going to do. Our thing is we're going to break down the mythological schools so that you understand where they're coming from, how this developed, why did it develop, and why is it the prevailing theory or idea or method within a specific school. Now, one thing that we notice in a lot of these, some of these new age schools and stuff like that, is that they're kind of blending a lot of different methods. And we say, like, when you start blending methods, you can literally make anything into anything. You know, if you take like the biblical school and the nature school and the archetypal school, and you blend it together and all this stuff, you can create any narrative you want to, right? And we follow the Epic school. It's the only school we follow, the only method of research. We have a litmus test, which is, you know, following patterns in the lore, starting with the Poetic Edda, and then looking at Indo-European comparisons, and then if we have to, cross-cultural comparisons. That's the school of thought we follow. That's our only litmus test, and we never stray from that. We don't borrow from other schools in order to try to prove our point better. We don't try to take from this school or that school. We have a school of thought, and that's what we follow, and that's it. And so what we're going to do is, when we develop these documentaries, and they're just going to be short, like 15, 20-minute documentaries each one, and we're going to show people, you know, where this began. How did mythological research begin? And we see it in the interpretation schools, the Interpretatio Graeca and the Interpretatio Romana, and then it goes into the Euhemerist school, and then later on into the biblical school, and then the nature school, and then the archetypal school, and then it sort of branches off into a bunch of different things, right? And we'll talk about those too. You know, we'll have a final video where we talk about like how all these things have influenced academic work and scholarship, how they've developed their ideas, what they do, you know, and how they sort of allow a certain mindset to develop based upon their research, because people always go to them, you know. Like whenever anybody wants to create some weird, bizarre philosophy, what they always do is like they'll just start citing tons and tons of scholars from all kinds of different schools of thought. And when you do that, you can justify anything. You can create any narrative you want to, right? And we're stuck within that. We will only follow the Epic method. We will not go beyond. We don't look at the biblical school. A lot of heathens do that. You know, whenever they want to try to discredit the anything in the Poetic Edda, whenever they want to say something about the Poetic Edda or anything like that, they just say it's Christian. It's just Christian. It's Christian, and it's like it's based upon superficial comparisons and nothing that has any evidence or any basis on it. So we're going to do that. We want to put our money where our mouth is. We're going to show people that we're not here to tell you what to do. Okay, we're not here to tell you what to think. We're here to tell you how to think. We're going to give you the tools in order to see these things and recognize them for what they are, right? Look at it yourself. Make your decision. I am not a guru. I am not trying to be your guru. I'm not trying to lead anybody in any kind of spiritual mission, tell them to listen to me. I'm the greatest guy ever. I'm so smart, and the Norna Society is so great. I mean, the thing about our work is that I really like, that I appreciate, is that it's not just me. We have 25 members, a whole bunch of people working on different things, making different things happen, working on different projects and coming up with different ideas. And we have some really brilliant minds in there, some really smart people on there. You know, Damon's a part of it, Aelfric, Edward Ravenheart, a lot of great people involved with this project who are helping us to get this stuff off the ground. And these guys help us, you know, make theories happen and work out different ideas and develop a project and come up with different concepts for it, find the lore on it, find things that I've never seen before, which is really exciting. And so as the more that you learn about the mythological schools, the more that you develop an understanding of that, the greater your understanding of all of it will be. Rather than picking up a book and saying, well, you know, this guy's book, he sounds really smart, so I'm going to follow him and say that his book is the best, and this is my dogma now, and I'm going to follow that to a T, right? What you will do is you will have the information and the understanding of each mythological school so that you can say that, let's see, Roy writes, could it be possible the reason Snorri put Christian influence in the Edda is because of the persecution of the church? Well, I mean, that is possible, right? And there's a lot of possibilities on what Snorri did, right? But we don't know. I mean, that's the fact of the matter, is that we don't know what Snorri's motivations were. A lot of people put a lot of different things. Some people try to say he was a crypto-pagan. Some people try to say he was just a subject of his time, you know, but we don't know. We don't know what his motivations were. All we can do is trace what his research and where it comes from. And we see that his research, the Euhemerist method that he develops, comes from a line of reasoning that goes back to Lactantius and the Roman Empire. Lactantius was the mentor of Constantine, and it goes into Fredegar, and then Paulus Diaconus, Wittikind of Corvey, all these different researchers who developed this Euhemerus method that's basically built in order to discredit pagan gods, and that's its purpose and that's its reason. Okay, so we don't know why, what his motivations were. Maybe he was trying to create a narrative that where he could sneak stuff in. We don't know. I mean, we'll never know. And people try to do that, that try to make something out of nothing. They just try to say that, well, I know this and I know that, and it's just conjecture. It's people playing guessing games and then acting like they know everything. And so what we're going to do, it's like I said, we're going to put our money where our mouth is. We're going to tell people how to start looking at this research, how to start finding it, how to see what someone's saying. When someone comes to you and says, oh, well, this is Christianity, that's Christianity, this is Christianity, you know that person's following the biblical method if they're applying that to the Poetic Edda, because we have zero, not one piece of evidence that shows anything that in the Poetic Edda is Christian. Nothing. The only poem we have that actually says something Christian is Solariod. Even some of the stuff in the Voluspa, when they talk about the unknown God, we don't know what they were talking about. There's an unknown God in the Rig Veda. His name is Ka, and it basically means like question mark, like we don't know. We don't know. And people who say that they know, those are the people you got to watch out for. The people who say they know. We know, right? And we don't say that we know. We're trying to educate people. We're trying to give people the tools so that they can understand and they can be able to present them, when they're presented with a piece of information, that they can question that piece of information. And that's what we want to do. We want people to question it, question all of it, question everything we're writing, question everything that they're writing. So when they come up there, you can say, hey man, when you're sitting there doing this, you're quoting the biblical school. When you're saying all this stuff in the Poetic Edda is Christian, just because these superficial connections that you've made, that's the biblical school. And the biblical school was so soundly defeated that its own founder admitted defeat and shut it down and said, I'm sorry, I'm just a philologist. I don't really know what I'm doing. That was Sophus Bugge. And a lot of people, if you go citing Sophus Bugge, people say, oh, don't do that, dude. He was discredited. He bowed out, But they still use it. They still use the method, right? So, question everything, question my spellings, question all of it, just ask questions. Don't take what people say. Don't follow gurus. Don't follow people who are trying to tell you what to do. Think for yourself. Be a heathen. Be like Odin. Odin doesn't sit there and listen to other people. He goes around, he finds the information for himself and he learns for himself. And that's what we have to do. That we don't question. I mean, we do question. I'm saying we don't like, a lot of people don't question. They don't question people and they don't say like, well, where did you get that from? And that's what you always have to do. That's the greatest question you can literally ask anybody at all times. Don't say, oh, you sound so smart. You sound so great. Oh, you said you're a historian or you're an academic or you have a PhD or, oh my God, you're so great. No, don't do that. Say, where'd you get that from? That's what you do. Where does that come from? What's the origin of it, right? And the thing that drives me crazy is when you ask people the origin of things and they start listing like 50 academics. And it's like, that's not an origin, all right? The origin of the sources, the primary sources, and the sources like Saxo and Snorri Sturluson and the Poetic Edda and, a lot of the different codexes like Codex Wormianus and Codex Regius and the Hawks Book and all this stuff. Those are sources. Those are actual sources, right? And so that's what we're going to do. We're going to teach people to question all this stuff. That's what we've been doing. That's what we want to do. We've been doing that, When we developed the Epic Method and we developed the Asatru Edda and the Odinist Edda and all that stuff, people try to say we're trying to develop a dogma. No, we're not trying to develop a dogma. We're trying to develop a method, right? And we want to teach people that method. And that method is sacred to us. It means something to us. It's like the Mahabharata of Hindus. It's a sacred epic. It's the stories of our gods and our ancestors. How is that not sacred to us? Are we not heathens? I mean, it's just to say that these stories mean something to us. They are important, but it's not to say that you have to follow it. If you don't like it, write your own. Write your own and say it's the Asatru Edda. I don't care. That's yours. Do what you want. The idea for us, and I'll tell people some of the structure of the Norna Society, some of the stuff that we're doing, is we have a thing we call the clan system, right? And the purpose of our clan system was to basically build up all of these, all of these different ideas. Let's say is it a good possible that both references of the unknown God could be traced back to the older? Yeah, absolutely. It could be Ka. There could be talking about that very same God, the unknown God. That's what that was being asked. And that could be referenced that, right? And but the thing is that we have to come together and we have to say like what we do and what methods we want to follow. Do we want to follow this method or that method or this method? And that's our choice. It's not to say that we're going to start making up stuff and just coming up with whatever we want to and just following all the UPG and all that stuff. It's saying that we're not going to sit there and listen to people when they're just throwing blanket statements and mudslinging and not making any arguments against anything, which is what people are doing. People are making arguments without making arguments. They're just saying, "Oh, this is stupid. This is trash. This is garbage. Don't listen to this." And my thing is like, I'm not going to say that about anybody's work, anybody's research, anybody's ideas. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give you the power to do that yourself. That's what I want to do. I want to give you the power to say, "Hey, where are you getting this from?" Right? And you follow this, do you follow this method or that method? Is this the biblical school method you're talking about or the nature school method? Are you following this? Why do you do this? Where does this come from? Where does it come from? And that's the most important question you can ask. And that's what we're going to help you do. We're going to help you ask that question so that you'll know every time somebody's doing that, you'll know where they're coming from, what the worldview is. And when you see these guys who are peppering it all, like coming to all different schools of thought, it's because they're trying to create a narrative and they can just make whatever they want to. And that was what actually destroyed the biblical school and destroyed the nature school, because they started applying this method and they found out that those methods could be applied to anything. You could make anything out of them, right? So like the nature school method, they had all these symbolism and all this stuff they were coming up with and all these different ideas. And there was like, man, it's like all just nature phenomena. Every bit of it is. And they did that. But then people started applying it to other things, and it's like you could make anything into nature phenomena. You could literally say that me sitting in this car is nature phenomena because it's like represents me being in a cloud or something. So anyway, that's just the way it is, and that's what what we're gonna do, and be looking for those documentaries coming up. All right, everybody have a great